So today we're going to focus again on the slow destruction of the US tourism industry, and yet another case of them shooting themselves in the foot while trying to convince foreign tourists to come back. A few of you sent me this report showing that the national parks in the United States are now adding a hefty fee increase, but only for foreign visitors. It's a great strategy if the goal is to make sure nobody goes back. I also have a quick update out of Maine, who is still struggling, but I'm not going to lie, it's always nice to see the declining numbers continue. And last, a brewery in New Zealand thought it was a brilliant idea to release a 51st state red IPA Canadian beer. Yeah, I got a bit of thoughts on this one, and I'm sure some of you will also comment as well. Today's backdrop comes from Torin, who sent in this photo while hiking on the Wolf Trail in Gatineau Park. Amazing vantage point. Thank you for sharing this with us, Torin. All right, let's get started with the report out of Maine first.
It wasn't just a summer thing. Canadian visitors to Maine were down again in October, 23% compared to October last year. The newest data from U.S. Customs and Border Patrol shows that 61,000 fewer Canadians crossed into Maine at a border checkpoint in October. And if you look at it month to month, you see that the percentage decline is actually tapering. It peaked in April at a 35% decline, and it's been slowly getting, I was going to say better, but it's just really not as bad, as the year has gone on. That April peak was a direct response to months of blistering verbal and policy attacks on Canada from President Trump. But March was the worst of it, with new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney calling for a snap federal election to seek a mandate to, quote, stand up to President Trump's trade war and threats about making Canada the 51st American state. And in the months since, relations between the two countries have kind of ping-ponged between ice cold and just regular cold, I guess. But together, 9 months of relative declines has added up to 686,000 fewer Canadians spending their money at Maine businesses compared to 2024. Now, since I know people in the comments are already saying that it's an exchange rate thing, I'll repeat what I've said in previous updates. When polled, surveyed, and interviewed, Canadians who are not traveling to the U.S. consistently and emphatically say that it's in protest of President Trump's words and actions toward Canadians. And owners of Maine small businesses along the Canadian border have told the Press Herald that even with the exchange rates, Canadians still can get cheaper beer and cheaper gas here in Maine, but they're still not coming.
I'll give credit where it's due. This guy's actually trying to explain to his viewers that it isn't the exchange rate, like most of the US population keeps telling themselves, but that we're actually just that pissed off. And this guy here, at the very bottom, pouring water out of the keg, I did a report on him before. He still refuses to blame the Trump administration or politics for the downturn of his business. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll leave a link in the description. It's titled, Maine Bar Owner Refuses to Blame Politics for the Loss of Canadian Tourism Travel Visits. I don't take joy in seeing people fall. In fact, those who didn't vote for this administration, I feel for them. But it's a situation where your friend gets into a fight with his evil brother, who also picks on you and belittles you, and you want to help out your friend, but you know it's not your fight. After my response to Bella the Ranch, I received at least a dozen emails from her viewers telling me that the best way that Canada can support those fighting the Trump regime is to continue the boycott and press hard on it. That is doing more than enough, they said, and it's helping to send the message. For the state of Maine, and all the other border towns begging Canadians to come back, sorry, you're on your own. Now moving on, the US administration has decided that it's a great idea to jack up the prices for visiting national parks, but only for foreigners. You got all these tourism officials and government officials begging Canadians to come back. Come visit us, we love you, we miss you. But now it's, oh, by the way, you have to pay an extra fee to visit us, but we still miss you. Like, what kind of fucking logic is this? Make foreigners pay more so US citizens don't have to. America first, right? Well, it's going to be America only now. I have 2 videos that talk about this, one from a US news outlet and one out of France. Let's watch both.
Estes Park is sparkling bright, ready to welcome in visitors to the town and to Rocky Mountain National Park for the holiday season. But new fees for international visitors starting in the new year.
Breathtaking. It was just beautiful.
David Delk spent the day exploring Rocky Mountain National Park with his family.
Walking through the parks, just down the trail, I heard language after language. I rarely heard an American accent, you know.
Lynn Minart knows the views are worth the visit.
Certainly are.
But soon it will be more expensive for global travelers to reach these peaks. For U.S. residents, an annual parks pass is $80. Next year, if you're not a resident, it'll run you $250.
$250 a person just to visit a national park. Multiply that by a family of 4, and that's $1,000 just to walk around a national park. This whole make foreigners pay thing reminds me of Florida, when Governor DeSantis said, let's make the snowbirds pay for our taxes. That mentality isn't going to help your economy. It's going to destroy it. You're just pushing people away. I think it's time for me to bring back my go-to meme.
Also, of course, like we could survive without a ton of international tourism. I think the tourism industry in America, and I don't know this as a fact, but I think our tourism industry is more based on domestic tourism.
Bunch of clowns. All right then, you go ahead and fix your tourism problems with your domestic visitors.
150 don't have a pass and are visiting the U.S., that'll be $100 per person to enter the busiest parks, including Rocky Mountain. That's on top of the standard entrance fee.
Oh yes, and the Rocky Mountain National Park is one of the main draws, of course, for these international visitors. So if these visitors decide to take their dollars elsewhere, that could actually be really impactful, specifically for mountain destinations around the national park.
Menard says the U.S. isn't alone. Other countries charge international visitors extra in touristy spots. She says wealthier tourists will likely still make the trip, but others might turn toward other destinations.
I hate to say it, but even the wealthier tourists are avoiding your destination without these extra fees. This is just my opinion, but the US is so focused on money that they're ignoring the fact that we can't be bought. Well, in this case, it's not buying us, it's actually charging us more. But on a regular basis, we're bombarded with these discounts, promos, 2-for-1s, and whatever else they're throwing at us. We're even being insulted while they're trying to give us their promo pitch.
If you come from Canada with a Canadian driver's license or a passport, or you use that goofily delightful Canadian accent, we'll give you a 30% discount.
Yeah, fuck your discount. I really hate this guy.
They might well be somewhat concerned because, of course, the increase in that revenue for the national parks isn't going directly to them. So they might really be worried about the international tourists being deterred, maybe looking elsewhere.
While some visitors in Estes say it'll help international visitors pay more of their share like taxpayers do, Delk disagrees.
That's really a shame. I mean, we should be opening up those beautiful parks that are part of our American heritage to people across the world. For us to charge extra money for them just because they're foreigners, that's ridiculous.
Those new fees will take effect January 1st. Menard says they'll be watching closely to see just how much of a punch those changes will pack. In Estes Park, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
The U.S. Department of the Interior says the extra money collected will go back into the parks, but they didn't get into specifics. They also say U.S. residents can get in for free on some patriotic fee-free days, including President Trump's birthday.
Trump's birthday, of course. I don't know. I'm seriously at a loss for that one. But the guy earlier is saying it's ridiculous that foreigners are being charged more. He's right, it is ridiculous. And it's just another reason that's going to keep us away. So we'll go ahead and add it to the long list of reasons why Canadians and international tourists aren't visiting. If you agree with my take and you're not subscribed yet, or if YouTube magically unsubbed you, help the channel out by hitting the subscribe button below. Now let's hear from a news outlet out of France. It'll be nice to watch something that isn't filtered through the US bias.
Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon. They are among the most spectacular places on the planet, and they are about to get a lot more expensive to visit for foreigners. A new $100 fee is being added to the standard entrance price at 11 U.S. national parks, and the fee is just for foreigners. On social media, the U.S.'s Interior Minister, Doug Burgum, laid out a number of changes in a promotional video. In addition to the fee, he's tripling the cost of an annual pass and just for foreigners, from $80 to $250. Burgum touted a number of other changes, such as more free visiting days for Americans, commemorative passes that place Donald Trump's portrait alongside George Washington's.
Yeah, having Trump's photo on the pass would be yet another reason to add to the pile why I'm not going. Imagine carrying that pass in your pocket and you pull it out and you see Trump's face. Everything always has to be about him, I guess.
And priority to Americans and U.S. residents for reservations. Reposted by the White House under the banner of America First, the changes are part of a larger agenda set forth by Trump this past summer.
I've just signed an executive order to raise entrance fees for foreign tourists while keeping prices low for Americans, and we're going to do that. The national parks will be about America First. We're going to take it America First for the national.
Correction. It's going to be America only, because no one's going to pay $250 per head to visit. And if they think they can rely on wealthy tourists, think again. I know many of our viewers are wealthy, retired, and really prioritize quality when they travel. And hey, I'm just being real here. I've seen some of your comments in past videos. Some of you spend more on your vacation than I make in half a year. So let me ask you, would you spend $250 just to visit a US national park? Let us know in the comments below.
But could such announcements be just a bunch of smoke and mirrors? Well, it comes as funding to the parks could be cut by a third or by $1 billion by the Trump administration. It also comes amidst mass staff shortages. The National Park Service has lost nearly a quarter of its staff since Trump took office. While it's unknown what the new and hiked fees for foreigners will do to tourism, the America First agenda is having a chilling effect on foreign tourism in the U.S. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates that the U.S. is on track to lose $12.5 billion in foreign travel spending in 2025, with tourists choosing to head elsewhere where they feel more welcome.
Couldn't be more true. We will go elsewhere, somewhere where we actually feel welcome. I would honestly rather pay more, take a longer flight, and deal with extra travel and layovers than put a single dime into the U.S. economy. If the U.S. was more welcoming, or if the Trump administration weren't in the office, it would be a different story. But for me, I value feeling welcome when I arrive into a new country, not being interrogated and profiled before I even step foot inside. I value respect and cooperation, not bullying and insults. And I value friendships that go both ways, not the kind where you only matter when your money is not going into their cash registers. So to everyone watching, spend your money in Canada, spend your money in Mexico, Europe, Central and South America, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, because these regions will actually value your presence. Now onto the last topic. A brewery in New Zealand thought it was a good idea to create a beer called the 51st State, with a character dressed in a Mountie uniform, holding a US flag and a US hat. One of our viewers posted this in the Guard the Leaf subreddit. If you haven't joined the subreddit yet, the link is in the description below. Now I have some thoughts on this. At first I was livid when I saw it, but a few viewers dug deeper, and it turns out the whole brand focuses on satire names for their beer. They even have beers that insult Trump, so the 51st State is meant to be a joke. But let me ask this. If someone has to explain to me the joke, then the joke really isn't that funny. And when it's a topic that's extremely sensitive to millions of Canadians, it comes off as tone deaf. It might be a joke to the company, slapping these tone-deaf images on their cans. And sure, they may be anti-Trump, but that doesn't make it okay to make fun of the 51st State annexation threat. I'm still looking at this image and trying to figure out how it's supposed to be a joke towards the United States and the Trump administration. If that was the intention, I really don't see it, and I don't think it's funny at all. If the can said Never 51, then sure, I could see the humor in that. But this, I honestly don't get it. They even sell merch with the logo on it as well. I know I'm not the only Canadian who is offended by this. A lot of people in the subreddit post shared how much they disliked the idea that this is somehow supposed to be a joke. And it's not just Canadians who were upset about this. People in New Zealand also said they thought it was in bad taste as well. I'm not showing this to call out the company. I'm showing this because it really highlights how lightly some people around the world are treating what's happening right now. A company on the other side of the world can say it's a joke, but the annexation threats, the disrespect, the MAGA crowd telling Canadians to go home, the constant 51st State rhetoric by the right, the idea that our country shouldn't exist, that isn't happening to them in New Zealand. It's happening to us in Canada, and we take it seriously. What might be a joke to you is not a joke to us. I'm just really tired of people telling us how we should think or feel. And this guy's response in defending the brewery, trying to justify the satire. I totally understand it is satire, and that's the actual problem. Don't sit there in New Zealand and tell Canadians how we should feel about this. You're not the ones living beside a dysfunctional neighbor at your doorstep. Some people may say I'm overreacting on this, and that's your opinion. But for me, this isn't something I'm going to laugh off just because others say we should. But in my 40+ years of being on this planet, I have never felt more on guard when it comes to defending my country, even if I'm physically not even there right now. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm still Canadian, just like thousands living abroad and millions back at home. I'm just not going to tolerate this shit anymore. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this topic. And if you don't agree with me on this topic, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But I'm not moving my stance when it comes to defending Canada. That's it for today's video. I'll catch you all in the next one, and have a great rest of your day.